In an interview from 2016, when Elon Musk was posed with the question regarding the existence of an advanced civilization capable of creating life through simulations, he opined that the likelihood of us living in the real world might be less than 1 in a billion. In essence, Musk suggested that we are possibly existing within a simulation. Many might find Musk's claim somewhat exaggerated, yet the unveiling of OpenAI's latest world simulator Sora, which can generate lifelike videos from mere text, forces us to ponder anew. As artificial intelligence evolves, the day might come when AI will develop a virtual world indistinguishable from reality, blurring the lines between the virtual world and our physical one. Furthermore, if AI reaches its zenith, it might simulate the entire universe, allowing virtual beings to experience what we call the real world, prompting us to question whether our world, including the universe itself, is all a simulation. How can we prove that we exist within a simulated cosmos? Let's delve into this deeply unsettling inquiry. Before tackling this conundrum, let's revisit an experiment conducted by Stephen Hawking. The renowned British theoretical physicist was keen to validate the feasibility of time travel, hence he sent out an invitation, preserved in a museum, which was to be opened only upon the invention of a time machine. The invitation was for time travelers to visit him on June 28, 2009, at midnight at his home in Cambridge, where he promised to host a dinner in their honor. He provided precise coordinates for the event and vowed to keep it a secret. As the clock ticked towards midnight on the specified day, Hawking waited anxiously for a guest from the future. However, the anticipated knock never came, leading to a disappointed conclusion that the experiment had failed. This experiment highlights 3 possibilities. First, that humans might never invent a time machine. Second, that even if a time machine were invented, due to the existence of parallel universes, the Hawking of our universe did not receive a visitor. And third, that the concept of a time machine is viable, but humanity perished before its invention. Although the experiment did not succeed, it offers a novel perspective for contemplating whether humanity is living within a simulation. Back in 2003, Nick Bostrom, a philosopher from Oxford University, introduced the simulation hypothesis, positing that if our current world is a program simulated by a higher dimensional civilization, and we are merely simulated beings within it, we find ourselves amidst one of 3 possibilities. Firstly, future humanity has reached its pinnacle and exists in a virtual manner. In this scenario, we are essentially the future human beings. Secondly, future humans have developed virtual life, making us exist in a virtual form, believing ourselves to be living in a specific historical period. Thirdly, if future humanity can create virtual worlds, it implies that other advanced civilizations can also create virtual worlds, leading to a multitude of virtual worlds. Our real world would then be one of many nested virtual realities, potentially in an infinite loop, with the number of virtual worlds far exceeding the number of real ones. If future humans can develop the technology to create highly realistic virtual worlds and manipulate human consciousness and memory, it suggests that our current world is very likely simulated by another advanced or higher dimensional civilization. This probability is either 0 or 100%, akin to the notion that if life exists on Earth, the probability of life existing elsewhere in the universe is 100%. Thus, either life is non-existent in the universe, or it abounds. Similarly, we are either real, or we exist within a vast array of nested virtual cycles. The crux of Bostrom's argument is that if future humanity can develop virtual life, then we must currently be residing in a virtual world, and the key to creating virtual worlds lies in simulating consciousness. To date, the origin of consciousness remains an unsolved mystery in science, philosophy, and artificial intelligence. Our understanding of consciousness and its mechanisms is limited. Scientifically, consciousness is considered a result of complex interactions between the brain's electrical signals, analog signals, and chemical signals. Some philosophers suggest that consciousness might be a fundamental form of existence, existing independently of the brain rather than being a byproduct of brain activity. In the field of artificial intelligence, consciousness is viewed as the outcome of information processing. Within this framework, the emergence of consciousness is seen as the result of complex computational processes And by simulating these processes, machines or AI could potentially achieve consciousness akin to that of humans. The human brain contains approximately 86 billion neurons, each connected to thousands of others, forming a network of immense complexity. Although current technology struggles to simulate this level of complexity, with the continual increase in computing power, it is believed that AI could one day match and even surpass the computational difficulty of the human brain. In its ultimate development, a godlike computer could emerge, capable of simulating the entire universe. But how powerful would this computer need to be? Our brains are constantly generating thoughts, and if the interaction of each neuron is considered a single operation, then your brain performs 10 to the power of 20 operations per second. This figure is for just one person. However, a creation program would surely be able to switch freely along the timeline, meaning that this godlike computer would need to simulate every human and every historical moment simultaneously. Considering an estimated total of 100 billion people have lived throughout human history, with an average lifespan of 50 years and 31 million seconds in a year, multiplying these numbers yields an astonishing figure. This godlike computer would need to process 10 to the power of 42 operations per second, a number that exceeds the total grains of sand on Earth. A supercomputer powered by a star could have enough computational power to simulate 10 to the power of 42 operations per second. A computer that harnesses the energy of an entire galaxy could effortlessly simulate the entire universe. This feat is achievable for an advanced civilization, provided they avoid extinction before reaching this stage. British physicist Melvin Vopson proposed an unprecedented experiment aimed at unraveling the ancient mystery of whether we truly live within a virtual world. Vopson theorized that if our physical world is a virtual system, then the informational units that make up the physical world, atoms, molecules, cells, and genes, down to the universe's fundamental particles, follow specific information rules. These rules include physical laws, chemical reactions, and the order of biological evolution, all set or modified by a higher-level information system or source, such as a super AI or a super civilization. His perspective is also based on a new physical law, the second law of information dynamics, or the law of information entropy. This law states that the entropy of information within a system, or the degree of disorder in information, is a constant or conserved quantity. This means that information within a system cannot be created or destroyed, only transferred or transformed. Vopson suggests that if our real world is a virtual information system, the fundamental informational units should carry some hidden information crucial for the system's operation. Yet for some reason they are encoded or encrypted by a higher-level system or source. This hidden information might pertain to various parameters or variables of our real world, such as physical constants, initial conditions, boundary conditions, etc. Extracting or decrypting this information, akin to finding a world's bug, could demonstrate that our world is virtual. Vopson's experiment involves using a homemade collider to smash a fundamental particle and its antiparticle together, such as an electron and a positron. Their collision would lead to mutual annihilation, releasing energy in the form of photons. His task is to measure the frequency of these photons. If the frequencies of these photons are specific, it might indicate that these particles carry some hidden information attempting to escape, thereby possibly proving our real world is a virtual system. Everything we see, hear, touch, and smell in reality is the brain's processing of external world signals. What we touch doesn't need to be tangible as long as the brain perceives it as such, similar to our experiences in dreams where we don't touch any physical entities yet experience a very realistic physical world. These are the brain's neurons working with electrical signals. The brain operates on analog signals but can be represented digitally, suggesting that our current physical world could be digitized or pixelated. Dr. Vopson has indicated that there is considerable evidence suggesting our physical reality might be a simulated virtual reality rather than an objective world existing independently of observers. In any virtual reality, information processing forms the foundation, meaning everything within this world could ultimately be digitized or pixelized to the smallest size, bits, beyond which it cannot be further divided. Bits, as the smallest units of information and the Planck length, the universe's minimum scale, are considered fundamental elements of the world, akin to the resolution of this virtual system. In physics, evidence supporting the simulated universe theory includes the maximum speed limit in the universe, the speed of light, which, in reality, corresponds to the speed limit of a computer's CPU. We know that an overloaded CPU will slow down a computer's processing speed. Similarly, in Einstein's theory of general relativity, time slows down near black holes. These massive celestial bodies can decelerate the speed of the universe simulator. Additionally, recent advancements in quantum mechanics, especially the 2022 Nobel Prize awarded to 3 scientists in the field of quantum information, have further unveiled the mysterious phenomenon of quantum entanglement. Quantum mechanics, a theory developed in the early 20th century, successfully explains the behavior of microscopic particles. When the world and the universe are reduced to their smallest components, their behavior cannot be described by classical physics. One of the core features of quantum mechanics is its inherent probabilistic nature, meaning the behavior of microscopic particles can only be predicted in terms of probabilities, not certainties. Einstein, long regarded as a figurehead of classical physics, famously said, "God does not play dice," expressing his belief that physical phenomena should have deterministic explanations rather than relying on probabilities. This marks a divergence between classical physics and quantum physics, where the latter suggests that the world around us might not be as real as it seems. Particles in a definite state seem to not exist until we observe or measure them. Instead, they exist in a mix of different states simultaneously. Moreover, in quantum entanglement, 2 particles, no matter how far apart, can affect each other's state as soon as one is manipulated, with a reaction speed that can exceed the speed of light by up to 100,000 times. This appears to violate Einstein's principle of relativity, which states that information cannot propagate faster than light. However, if the universe is a simulator, in the code of a virtual world, the distance to the central processing unit from all locations should be roughly equal, making the invocation of these points instantaneous. Thus, even though we may perceive 2 particles as being hundreds or thousands of light years apart, if they are generated within a simulation, this distance is essentially non-existent. If the future sees the creation of sufficiently powerful supercomputers, it might become possible to simulate a completely realistic world on them, inclusive of self-aware consciousness. Thus, we could be living in a simulator devised by a cosmic designer. Should this designer play the role of a player, they would likely refrain from overly interfering with the evolution and progression of life. Instead, they would set up the system, define specific parameters and operational rules, and observe whether the system can evolve intelligent life, or even a supercivilization on its own. According to current theories, the emergence of carbon-based life in the universe requires sunlight, air, water, and an appropriate distance from a star. Moreover, various conditions must be met. We found that both Mars and Venus once had water, with Mars even lying within the solar system's habitable zone. Yet there are no signs of life on Mars, indicating that the current system is stringent regarding the birth of life, where even a slight deviation in temperature settings could prevent the emergence of life. If the system were set to allow the easy emergence of life, the cosmic player might find the achievement significantly less rewarding. Hence, an event like Earth's collision with another planet, leading to the Moon's formation and causing Earth's axial tilt, creates an angle that disperses surface temperature. While other planets also have tilts, none are as ideally inclined as Earth's. The designer might have purposes and rules beyond our understanding. To conserve system resources, the designer ensures that landscapes or maps on specific points only appear when observed. This principle applies to our observation of the universe as well. If we are in a virtual system, the universe need not constantly display all information. Much like when we play games like GTA 5, where driving from one district to another presents us with various people and activities, creating the impression that NPCs within the city share the same experience. However, in reality, when you're not in those other places, nothing exists there. No cars, no people, no city. Because game developers have designed these rules to reduce the computational load on the computer's CPU. This is quite similar to the phenomenon of quantum entanglement. But we need not be pessimistic about this comparison. Assuming our universe is a virtual system, if we could perceive a world beyond this system, then we'd be confirmed as simulated entities. If we can't perceive beyond it, then what we consider real and virtual becomes relative. If humanity, even at the brink of extinction, cannot perceive what lies beyond the universe, then we might as well regard ourselves as real. Whether a system is considered real depends on whether the observer is within or outside of it. Hence the saying, "Man thinks, God laughs," holds some truth. This is why, despite all our thinking and theories, we can't explain what's outside the universe. The answer to this question has already transcended our dimensions. Just like an NPC living on an infinitely large map in a game, how can it perceive what the player controlling the game is like? Suppose one day this NPC suddenly perceives that it is virtual, that it was created, and has actual evidence to expose all this. Then, what awaits? It will be